Hey everyone, I'm going to tell you a story about a gentleman named Silas Ramsey. Silas is a 70-year-old Vietnam War veteran who now serves his days working as a door greeter at a store called Winston's. And he does it because he can work part-time, he's getting a little older, and he wants to keep a low profile. And in the community where Silas lives and works, there's been a string of missing women that have been found at the city dump. Now, the location of the city dump, they realized that the women could have been dumped in one of 7 locations. There's a new detective on the force. Her name is Reagan Michaels, and she's been tasked with trying to solve this case of the missing, now murdered women in the community. Well, she goes to one of the locations of the dumpsters where the women might have been picked up because police believe that they were placed in a dumpster to be taken to the city dump spot. And she goes to Winston's, starts talking to the manager, and she kind of, befriends a couple of people, Silas and a younger gentleman named Wyatt. Well, it's kind of ruled out initially that anybody at Winston's has anything to do with it. And Reagan, she gets kind of an epiphany. She has seen this kind of case before. All of the women are the same age, they're the same build, they have the same color hair, and she recognizes the pattern that not only is she dealing with a serial killer, but she may have dealt with this before. So she goes into her old case studies from when she was in school, and she reads that this happened in the 1970s, exact same thing, exact same profile for the women victims. And now she realizes that Silas might be involved because, number one, he's the only one old enough to have pulled off both crimes. And they find out through DNA testing now that wasn't available then, at least Reagan finds this out, that Silas was connected to one of the victims. It was his mother. Well, what we learn is that Silas was physically abused by his mother, both before he went off to the army and after the fact. And she just tormented him and bullied him to the point where he got over the top one day and decided that he had to get her out of his way, and he killed his own mother. Well, he then associated everything because of the PTSD with his mother and the stuff that happened to him in Vietnam, that every woman that was the same age as his mother, had the same brown hair, and had the same body type, he couldn't stand any woman that looked like that. And he just made it his mission to just try to get rid of them as many as possible. Well, after he got out of California, he, kind of hung low for a little bit and then took the job as a door greeter so he could keep that low profile, but at the same time, continue to feed the serial killer path that he had gone down. So Reagan gets suspended because she starts interrogating Silas, and she has no real proof. The testing had not come back yet, but Reagan knew. So she had interrogated a high-standing society member in Silas and accused him of murder without any hard evidence. So she gets suspended. Well, Wyatt, who she becomes friends with at Winston's, he is really trying to become friends with her, and it looks like he is trying to develop some sort of a romantic relationship with her. And they do eventually start dating. She is also telling him information back and forth on her thoughts on the killer. And we find out that Wyatt is Silas's son, and he's trying to get that information from her so he can find out what her plans are. She doesn't know this when she goes to confront Silas at the store late one night, because Wyatt calls her and says, "Hey, Silas is here. He's got another victim. You need to get down here and come as quick as you can." She shows up. A big fight ensues. Wyatt pretends to be the victim, and he ends up turning on Reagan. Now Reagan has to fight off both Silas and Wyatt, which she eventually does, and she just snaps because this guy that she loved and trusted has completely betrayed her. And her captain shows up because there's an alarm that goes off and there's a scuffle that's going on at the store after hours. And he ends up shooting Wyatt because he sees that Wyatt is trying to kill this woman who he finds out is Reagan. Reagan takes the distraction and she kills Silas. The captain, he wants answers, and Reagan says, "You know what? Fire me." She throws her badge at him, and she is just emotionally distraught. She's now got her own case of PTSD. Her house goes on fire. She's presumed dead, and she just relocates, takes a job as a greeter, and now that that mindset is in her, and she kind of greets people and with a little bit of a sinister wink, and that is The Greeter.